Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street, small business lenders who help it grow. Chris Hearn, founder, CEO of Fountainhead Commercial Capital out of Orlando, one of the top 10 PPP lenders, amazing numbers. Chris, living the dream?
I don't know if I'm
or the nightmare. I'll let you choose.
Yeah. Changes by the minute. Yeah.
There you go. And Katie, good to see you back. Are you now rested and ready to?
Well, now we're working on a bunch of stories, so I don't know if I'm totally rested today, but right. I am totally back.
All right. Very good. Hey, we got a lot of information. Thank you for joining us. Lance is off today. But number one, question right off the top. Can you use restaurant revitalization funds or shuttered venue grant funds as your equity injection in a 7A or 504 transaction? Yes, say 9%. No, say 81%. I don't know, say 10%. I don't know, Chris. Do you?
I don't either. I was curious what citation you guys are going to give on this one. I don't know.
Well, I think the answer, I think the people who said no are correct. Yeah. And the reason why is those funds have to be used for certain purposes. Right. And I think using that as an equity injection for the acquisition of a business or property is not eligible. But I raised the question. I'm sure it's come up.
Yep.
Yeah, the at least the RRF and SOV websites for the for on SBA.gov specifically list out the things that you cannot use it for, and making payments on loans originated after February 15th or making investments or loans is not allowed. So I would think that that would be part of that.
Excellent. Katie to the rescue. Thanks, Katie. Good job. Number two, do you feel SBA 7A oversight fees are reasonable? Yes, no, I don't have a clue. Chris, I'll start with you. You think they are or not?
Yeah, I got the notice yesterday, and they seem to be reasonable to me. I'm not completely.
It's split. 43% say yes, 32% say no. So about half of this say they're reasonable.
I reserve the right to change my opinion, though, in a few years, Bob.
Okay. Any surprises for you when you put pencil to budget or Excel sheet? No. I mean, this is in line with what they've done in the past, correct?
Right. Yep.
So I would get this notice, get this over to your CFO, have them crunch the numbers. I don't know. I imagine there's been very few on-site reviews last year.
That's correct.
Which is more expensive, and I assume they'll start cranking those up at some point in time. I have no idea when, but it's a little bit higher.
We had our safety and soundness review about a month and a half ago, and it was all virtual.
Yeah. Charge per million is $1 million in the portfolio. You can multiply that out. Chris, how often are you reviewed? Yearly or twice, every other year?
We can be reviewed we can be reviewed as frequently as they want, frankly.
Right.
But typically, it's every 24 months. Sometimes, if there's some issues, they might do it yearly or every 18 months. But I think we had a pretty good exam. I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah. So, so those are the new fees, and go ahead and do those. What percentage of small business owners are increasing compensation to attract qualified employees? 2% say 1 in 5, 13% say 1 in 4, 37% say 1 in 3, 28% say half, and 20% say 2 out of 3. Katie, we have a smart group today. They got it right.
We do. It's to be exact, if you want to be much more, literal, it's going to be 31%, according to NFIB's most recent study, looking at April numbers. But that 1 in 3 is absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought it would have been higher. I'm also curious to see what people are doing to retain employees as well. We have to attract them. And then, but if you're bringing these people on at a higher level, then you need to take care of the people we have. So labor costs are definitely increasing. that's something you should consider when you're looking at historical numbers. Can you tell us a little about NFIB? You did a report on them today. First of all, define NFIB and who are they?
Yeah, so this is National Federation of Independent Businesses. Chief Economist is talking about specifically this issue with the cost of labor and how few workers, small businesses have been able to get in the recent year, really, especially gearing up toward the last 4 months or so. Small businesses have been especially struggling finding employees and retaining those employees. So this thing that I wrote today is really just looking at that, looking at their study. They have been following this for a while, and it is just progressively getting worse. So that is a huge concern for small businesses.
Well, worse for the employer, better for the employee.
Yeah.
Point of view.
So you are seeing some of them being able to increase that pay, but not all small businesses are going to be able to do that. You are seeing them sometimes having other benefits as well, but mostly it's going to be
Go ahead and ask the slide, Joseph, so we're on the same page. There you go. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, so this is most of their data, at least as far as numbers go. In April, firms increased employment by 0.31 workers per firm, which is a historically very high number. Looking at their entire history of reporting, which goes back to about 3 decades or so, that is one of the highest numbers they've ever had. So it is increasing. However, you are seeing a lot of them still have openings that they are unable to fill. 44% said they had openings still that they were unable to fill in April. 59% said they're trying to hire, and 92% of those trying to hire found no qualified applicants or very few. So that is still a huge concern, but they are growing. You are seeing businesses slowly coming up with 31% saying that they increased compensation to incentivize qualified candidates. And optimism is growing. That's still not quite up to the levels before the pandemic, but it is growing right now. So that's all a good sign. Same thing, earning trends are still improving, but have not fully recovered as well. So the same kind of thing going on there. So everything's kind of recovering, but there's still this overlying issue with qualified applicants, qualified workers.
Chris, from a C-suite perspective, so we've talked about pipeline issues, raw cost increasing. Here we're talking about labor increasing. 2020, you're looking at financial statement where sales decreased. How do you analyze this?
I mean, this is what we've talked about for a few weeks on the show is, there's inflationary pressure. I mean, that's generally how business owners address this, is that suddenly their products and services have an increased price. Now, the argument is this a near-term phenomenon that once some of the supply chain issues get worked out, is it going to come back into more, balance? I don't know. I mean, I guess we have to wait and see, but, certainly it's become an employee's job market for sure. And I think some of that's not just in terms of possible increased compensation, but just, people have a tendency to hunker down in times of recession, which we did actually go through that. And, and we all went through a pretty traumatic experience as a society. And that also tends to be, at the end of that, tends to be when people perhaps consider other options that they may not have. They may not want to stay in in their eyes, a stable sort of routine job. They might finally want to go out and, try that dream they've had for a long time. So I think you're also seeing the rates of entrepreneurship increase now as a result since the pandemic ended as well.
Chris, do you see your borrowers being sophisticated enough to keep up with this, to analyze this and increase their prices? Are they? I know. Yeah.
Some, but certainly not all. I mean, it really depends on, there's micro businesses in SBA world, and there's small businesses, and there's variations of small businesses. There's sophisticated ones that have, an accounting or finance team, and a team of C-level executives, and there's others that's, a charismatic leader with a bunch of people around him. I mean, it's things like that. There's all different types. So yes, some are clearly paying attention to this. Others probably aren't. And that's always the fear, is if they're not paying close attention, they may not be raising prices accordingly in order to give them the kind of margin cushion that they need to sustain. So.
Very good. Let's see, we've had a bunch of questions, specifically Jessica, Aaron, and Meredith. They're all asking the same theme, which is, what do we do when we have partial forgiveness or we haven't heard from SBA? What do we do with payments? It's still, the answer is we're unclear because there aren't any specific regulations. Chris, how are you handling this?
Well, it's a little murky. We were talking before we jumped on here that we've had a few borrowers in the last few weeks that have returned PPP funds to us, but only partial funds. And the question being, should we begin P&I payments, or should we, since they're technically still in a deferment status, should we not? And we're getting sort of conflicting information.
SBA,
There's no regulation that's been released yet on things like that. So I think SBA will very shortly finish originations of PPP and turn their attention to how we, administratively handle these things, like with forgiveness.
We need specific guidance on that. We need specific guidance how to prepare the PDK for getting it off the books. I would say for right now, reach out to your corresponding center, whether Fresno or Little Rock.
Yep.
We'll also beat up Lance. Lance will be on tomorrow, and we will ask him, and we'll let him and haw and try to. But Lance's him and haw, so he has some good information in there, rather than Chris and I going, I don't know. Good luck with that one. Katie, do you have anything to weigh in on?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, no, Lance is probably the expert on this. I really don't know too much about it.
Okay, really good. Let's see, Russell. Well, let's go to Carla's question. I've had some borrowers tell me they hear SBA debt relief funds are running out. But I've heard nothing official. What do you have on that one, Katie? Is that clear enough for you to answer?
I don't know if he's asking if they're ending, because there are several that have ended, but there's still about a month or two of some of them. So I think it's just depends on when they got their loans. I haven't heard of the funding for that program running out, though, so I'm not sure what they're talking about there. If that's what they're talking about, I haven't heard that.
Okay, very good. And let's see, I'm looking for, here it is. This is from Russell. And it's the same question, Russell. Again, we don't have a good answer for you, but there's the borrower believes they qualify. SBA is telling them no, that part of it's not eligible. Chris, is there a formal appeal process for the borrower to state their case, or what do we do? What do we do in this situation?
I think there is. I mean, it's not. It would be unlike SBA not to allow for an appeal, but I don't know what it is, because those are programs like the Sheriff Vineyard.
And how long it's going to take, or what happens?
Yeah, they're administered by SBA, so I'm not.
So again, that's another one that we're hunting on. That Katie, let's go to numbers. Let's see programs. Jennifer's going to be here on Friday, and we're going to be able to talk about the regional conferences, which I'm very much interested in the update on that. So Flagel and Mid-America and all the ones that she's going to be putting together and producing. So tell me, Katie, what's going on with our numbers?
Yeah, so the SBA released an update report yesterday, and so we do have those numbers. However, I do want to note that doing the math here kind of comes out to be what looks to be about $16 billion left in the program. but the SBA administrator last weekend did say that there was closer to 2.5 billion. So that is a much smaller number. So just to be aware that that is running lower. So don't take these numbers as being the most recent. As we've talked about,
these numbers don't take into account pending.
This is
pending
true. It could be
resolutions.
pending.
And that may be the $14 billion.
Pending
Anyway, go ahead.
lender processing fees, interest on the loans. I mean, there's a variety of things that go into that delta.
Go ahead, Katie.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but the loan size for 2021 PPP loans is pretty small, much smaller than before. We are hitting a lot more of those smaller businesses that are just a sole proprietor or 1 to 5 employees, 1 to 10 employees. So you are seeing that with that, and that's continued this week.
Very good. Go to the next slide. There we go. Lenders, obviously predominantly banks. Credit unions have a significant portion. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, this is just looking at overall. I think we're probably winding down toward the end, so I wouldn't expect these numbers to change. But it is good to realize what percentage roughly were banks. Fintechs were obviously involved a lot more, especially in 2021 than they were early on in the 2020 process. But yeah, this is just our most recent numbers and probably going to stay pretty consistent. I'm sure they're going to eventually confirm whoever the to be confirmed section is. There's 2 of those apparently. But yeah, that they've probably locked this in at roughly what it's going to be.
To be confirmed. I love that. We have no idea where that $3 million came from. So Chris, I made an error. I said you were top 10. According to my chart, you're 11. No, it's dollar amount. If you look at number of loans, yeah, number of loans, a little bit higher. But those are simply
approvals, by the way. So so this isn't funded, and some of this will still be funded this week and probably next week and maybe even beyond, actually.
Chris, I love your average loan size, 14,000.
Yep. That's it was a big push of ours this year to try to reach, which I think followed SBA's mission for PPP, to try and follow some of the Schedule C and Schedule F filers to make sure that they had access to these critical funds too.
No, I mean, but congratulations to everyone there. I mean, that's great work. Very good. And real quick, we have our restaurant webinar next Wednesday. Please take advantage of that. We're finishing that up, Katie. You're doing a lot of cool research, and I always enjoy doing this one. This is not a simple repeat from 2019. A lot of changes in the business, but it's SBA specific, how to finance this in SBA loans. Chris, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you, Katie,
Likewise.
as always. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.
Take care.